and that we are giving you an opportunity to ask questions via the Q&A section. We will try to address some of them. However, please note, if we cannot address all your questions, we will do our best to follow up where relevant to provide further insight. Today, we will talk about the value of coaching, the role coaching methods play in changing behaviors, and specifically how building a coaching culture can support overall higher levels of performance within the entire organization by equipping senior leaders and HR professionals with coaching skills. We'll share practical examples for building a coaching culture that you can take away and start implementing as part of your talent and leadership development initiatives. I'd like to start the conversation with Pauline. Pauline, can you introduce yourself and tell those audience members who may not be familiar with LHH a little more about what LHH does?
Thank you, Honesty. Absolutely. And to everyone on the call, welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm Pauline Muldoon. I'm Senior Principal Consultant for LHH Talent Solutions. For those of you who don't know LHH, we help companies see the possibilities in their people. Through assessments, coaching, upskilling, recruitment, and career transition, companies can realize the untapped potential within their own workforce, resulting in increased productivity, morale, and brand affinity. So today I'm joined by my two colleagues, Marc Dufraisse and Christophe Touton. We're talking about the power of coaching and how organizations can really leverage best coaching practices that enable managers to engage in development conversations on a regular basis. Before we get started, I will let Marc and Christophe introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here with you all. My name is Marc Dufraisse. I'm the EMEA Master Coach. My role is about delivering excellence in the executive coaching programs we are having all around the region. And I'm happy to be here to exchange with my colleagues. Christophe.
Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Pauline. My name is Christophe Touton. I'm based in Zurich. I'm supporting strategic global client in putting in place a strategic coaching program, specifically on a specific business transformation and business context. And I'm very pleased to be part of the team today.
Thank you very much. So to start off this webinar, I'm mindful that the pandemic and the social equality issues and other global macroeconomic factors have produced significant changes in the world of work, and they've impacted businesses in dramatic ways. So with so much at stake, I'll be really interested to know from you about how coaching is currently deployed in your organizations to help drive enhanced performance. So Honesty is about to launch this poll. So how is coaching deployed in your organization? Is it a one-off coaching engagement? Is it a core element of your talent and leadership development strategy? Is it truly embedded in your culture, or are you a little unsure right now? While we wait for the poll results, one of the things I'm seeing across all organizations is that we have such significant demands on leaders at the moment. And I am seeing coaching being utilized to really help people step up and, be the leaders that the organizations need. Marc, what are your thoughts on this poll?
I'm looking forward to the results of that.
Okay.
So one-off coaching engagements, I'm not totally surprised. So more than half is about one-off coaching engagements. I'm actually going to be talking about that. I think that's the interesting point. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. And a quarter of the attendees, it's a core element of talent and leadership development strategy. For 6%, it's embedded in our culture, and 11%, I don't know. So I hope going through this conversation that we're going to have, that we can share with you where we've seen coaching really work, and also share some tips on coaching cultures and also how to truly get the best out of your coaching investment. So question I would ask Marc and Christophe is, for organizations, how do they know when their people, their leaders will really benefit from coaching? Marc.
Yes. Well, I think what we are living at the moment is in many industries, many businesses, there are a lot of changes in the business, in the way the business has to be driven. When we talk about digitalization or what, the pandemic and the post-pandemic is a real challenge. And I think that we definitely are facing, companies are really facing a day-to-day change in the way we need to be reacting. So I think there is definitely a need in companies to reinvent a little bit the way they're actually handling their companies, their teams. And I think coaching can be the way of doing that. The idea behind it is that we as the leaders tend to find ways which are comfortable for them to actually drive their business. And traditional companies, the way we traditionally worked as leaders was on a sort of system that worked up to now. I think today we need to reinvent to be able to face the changes. And I think the idea of coaching, with very much busy, stressed leaders day-to-day fighting, is a way to step back, to be able to gain awareness, to be able to practice new things, to learn new aspects. And this is what we need today, I think, in many businesses. So that would be my idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you think, Christophe?
Thank you, Marc, and thank you, Pauline. What we see currently on the clients that we are supporting is many companies currently are facing business transformation. If you take the automotive, is moving from having a specific engineer making a motor to have a new type of mobility car, having different type of skills and different type of leadership competencies. If you see some companies that are very, I will say, regulated, can be on the pharma, FMCG, or financial services, also the market is disrupting. We see more and more M&A that will impact the different culture and the way of leading the business. And the business is transforming currently. This one is leading many companies to reassess the leadership framework, to reassess what we need to assess in terms of competencies and leadership skills for today, but specifically for tomorrow. And coaching is becoming a very powerful capability, not only for executive coaching for the C-suite of the organization. We see now company focusing on the line manager, first line manager, people managing team, and the new technology and I will say capability are helping to make some very powerful and impactful, I will say, digital coaching services for individual coaching, team coaching, group coaching, often very well embedded in talent leadership program, where you have really in terms of ROI, a very powerful return on the investment on the learning and leading developing program. Is what we see. And you, Pauline, what do you see from your perspective, Pauline?
So like you, I'm seeing a lot of organizations in transformation. One of the things where coaching really makes such a significant difference is that coaching changes behaviors. And it changes behaviors in a sustainable way. And a lot more organizations were focused not just on the what, but on the how. And that's where coaching really comes into its own. I mentioned earlier about the challenges for leaders today. And an Adecco poll last year said that 74% of employees feel that it's crucial for their leaders to have more empathetic and understanding style. And I think coaching really supports that. And another addition, to throw another statistic, a recent ICF poll said that, coaching can provide 86% increase in productivity compared to just 22% training alone. So I think that makes such a difference in these organizations going through transformation.
Yes,
you go on.
And if you see some company when the expertise is one part of making a career and being promoted, can be on the specific scientific company, can be some specific area. When they are becoming to lead team, specifically remotely currently, we see that 80% of the leaders, they believe they have an ineffective capability to manage people. It means this one is also connecting the dot with what we see, Pauline and Marc. Please build on this one, Marc.
Well, yes, I think what's interesting, and actually Pauline was talking about the what and the how, and I think what's interesting about coaching is that we're working on the who. We're working on the people themselves. So we are working on their abilities, their ability to gain awareness, their ability to develop new practices and to be more agile in their practices. And I think that's what's really interesting and really important today, because it allows empowerment, it allows really decision making at the closest to the market, which is, I think, what's really important today.
Good. If I may, I will propose to move to a second question that we see from the market and from the clients that we are supporting. And I will ask this one to Pauline first. Pauline, what does a coaching culture look like? And how do you recommend to make a successful implementation?
Yeah, very, very good question and very topical. So many organizations talking about coaching culture at the moment. So really in a coaching culture, coaching is the way that we do things around here. And so in organizations with a coaching culture, we see very much a focus on people achieving their potential. There's a focus on enabling high performance, increasing engagement. There's very much honest and open conversations. We see high performing teams and also a focus on the long-term strategic objectives, not just the medium term need to get these achieved. We see in true coaching cultures, we see senior leaders really committed to developing people. And a bonus of that, I think in coaching cultures, we see much reduced office politics. Marc, what are your thoughts on what a coaching culture is?
Well, for me, it's about a change in the way leaders do actually think about their own objectives and businesses. In general, leaders are very much focused on content, on results, on objectives, which is normal. And the thing is about that dimension about the how we're going to be doing that. How am I to motivate my team? How am I going to empower my people? How am I going to make them really more effective? And that's where coaching can come in terms of practices, in terms of know-how, because I think the more you actually take into account the ways you're going to be interacting individually, collectively with your team, is the way you're going to create motivation, is the way you're going to empower them, and is the way you're going to get that agility that you need to have today. Because if not, you're just going to be the traditional leader that we've seen in the last century, which might not be the one we need today. I don't know what you think about that, Christophe.
Thank you, Marc. What I see and what I believe myself is a culture of coaching is a culture of feedback. The culture of feedback is a culture of trust, is a culture of also asking the right question at the right time, in the right context, to the right sparring partner, can be a peer, can be a boss, can be employee, can be also client. Sharing your view, Pauline, is really deeply helping to change behavior, can be self-regulated behavior, can be also combined with a well-being. And I am a strong believer based on what we see on the leadership talent development program that we are supporting, to really focus on one specific behavior with the notion of the sprint of the 90 days, really to focus on one specific behavior during 90 days. And we can, is similar with what you decide to stop smoking or to start to make jogging. And this one really focusing on one specific behavior to see the outcome, to make some pulse survey to see if this one is tangible outcome for the team. And after to have this one sustainable and to move to the second or to the third type of behavior that you as a leader or that the company asks you to change based on the new leadership framework. And you, now what is anything to add from your side, Pauline or Marc?
I would add a question I'm regularly asked is, how do I implement a coaching culture? And obviously, you know, it takes a commitment to really embed any change. What I would say, 4 key steps for any organization is 1, this really needs to come from the top down plus bottom up. So a key thing is for senior leadership buy-in. Senior leaders need to role model and truly support a coaching culture. The second thing I would say is line managers need to be involved. And we'll touch on this when we're talking about best practice with culture, or with coaching programs, but line managers need to be involved with their people and truly supporting rolling out a coaching culture. The third key point, which supports the 2 previous, is put together a business case. And there's so many statistics for this. I mean, a recent ICF study said that organizations with a coaching culture have higher profitability. So 65% of organizations with coaching culture are highly profitable, whereas 56% of organizations without a coaching culture are profitable. And then the fourth part, which sums up the coaching being the way we do things, is coaching needs to be truly integrated in everything. So that's, you know, performance management, you know, systems to support. Coaching needs to be involved at every stage. So important things when anyone is looking to implement a coaching culture, be really clear on your vision. So what does this look like? And as part of that, establish KPIs and how you're going to measure that success. Another thing is ensure your stakeholders are truly engaged. You know, we need much more than lip service. People need to role model and truly own their behaviors. And then the third part, which is really important, is this needs to be sustainable, not just a fad. You know, it needs to be long-term. So to truly have a sustainable coaching culture, I think as well as using external coaches, what's really important is to have internal capability. So would recommend training up internal coaches. An organization that we work with at the moment, a large organization that are building an amazing coaching culture. And what they're doing is offering coaching at different levels in the organization. So as you said, Christophe, it's not just the senior leaders, it's other people in the organization are being coached on behaviors and how to be even better. And managers are equipped to be more comfortable with feedback. And then other identified people are being equipped with coaching skills. So we can have that internal capability across the organization. And it's amazing to see the difference it makes. Any other tips, Marc?
Yeah, thank you. I love the summary of that. Actually, there are many things I'd like to, you know, build on from what you were saying, because actually when we talk about feedback in coaching, we many times we talk about feed forward, you know, how we change the way we actually give feedback, going for the potential of the people rather than from what's missing. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is about what Christophe was saying about the implementation, and you were saying about the measuring. Coaching is, of course, about people development, about leadership development, but it is about implementation, because we know we learn doing, trying, you know, and this is the way we are actually going to make results. And that's why it's so important to develop these coaching cultures. Fantastic, thanks. Okay, so I have another question for you. So I'm going to, so what would you recommend, and maybe Christophe can be answering that one first. What would you recommend for organizations wanting to launch coaching programs? What would be your ideas, Christophe, on that?
Thank you, Marc. To keep in mind, the title of the webinar is how to introduce coaching program into your business. And in this title is 2 key words for me, is coaching and business and coaching. And I believe really involving the business leader, the business unit, the first line manager, also the top of the company, but not only, is one of the key success factors that we see on an amazing program where the leader from the business, from the HR team, from the different shared services are engaged to really embrace, not only tick the box, embrace this type of initiative with really amazing outcome. The second will be to start small. We have seen big initiative, big bang, when after you have a lot of stakeholders that have a voice, what need to be done, not to be done. And we have seen very, a big client and big financial services that are quite traditional at the beginning, but started step by step with different cohort of managing director, executive director, to make some digital coaching. That was like a revolution for this bank, because initially it was quite traditional, only top executive type of coaching. And we see the amazing outcome, the changing of behavior, the business are improving on the leaders that are part of this different cohort. This means starting small, with really connecting this one with the business strategy and business objective of the leader. And also what we see, because it's scalable now with different technology, focusing really on the people that have people management responsibility, can be on the factory, can be the sales team, can be on the different part of the company. And we have seen also very interesting initiative from a global client to support people going back to work after a training or paternity or maternity leave. This one also was a very interesting initiative that we have seen in the coaching, really to answer something that is connecting to the business, that is trying small and after to learn and to deploy, and having this one related to people that are managing or interacting across the organization and having impact on the behavior. And you, Pauline, what do you see from you, the client that you are serving and supporting?
Yeah, I love those examples. And also I love the phrase you used, embrace, to embrace it. I think a key thing for coaching to be truly successful is for people to own their development. You know, coaching is a massive opportunity. It's an investment. And there's something about people being adult and truly owning the opportunity of working with a coach. So from an organization point of view, you know, key recommendations or tips I would share is, one, be really clear on the business case. So, you know, where you want to offer coaching and why, and the benefit for the organization. And linked to that, it's very important for any coaching to have clear objectives with success measures. So someone is working on leadership, the success measures are engagement scores, retention, etc. And also that will link to strategic objectives. A third thing is work with the right coaches. You know, the coaching market is unregulated, and there is obviously a lot of movement to have much more of a standard, and the accrediting bodies are amazing at working together to do this. So be really clear on the coaches you want to work with. Another thing is try and make sure your coaching is best practice. So coaching isn't standalone out of the business. You know, line managers are involved. It's linked to strategic objectives. And then in addition to that is ongoing evaluation. So I think it's really important to monitor and get feedback on coaching, and also the impact the coaching is having, which brings you right back to the business case, which is a wonderful loop. And I will share some actual impact figures. So talking about examples with LHH in the last year. So impact measures, coaches following coaching shared that their leadership skills had doubled, which is wonderful. Executives were 1.5 times clearer on their personal brand. Strategic thinking improved by over 170%. Stakeholder management abilities doubled. And there was over 150% improvement in career planning and future focus. Anything to add to that, Marc?
Well, yes, I think you said almost everything. For me, the idea behind the idea of what would I recommend for the business in launching a coaching program is, I think we have to have a clear goal. I think we have to start at the top, because if we try to implement coaching without having that coaching culture already up there in the leadership teams, it's going to be a bit harder. So I think we definitely need to be starting at the top. And I think the other idea is about what is the business needing in terms of leadership model? How can we, define what are we needing for today and for tomorrow to make it really effective for the business? And from that, we can really define what are the best practices, what is the benchmark, how we need to go, where do we need to go, and we can orient the coaching around that, which I think can be really interesting in terms of structuring the coaching.
Yeah.
As and I will put also, coming back on the beginning, what I was addressing, what we see from client. I want to have agile leader. I want to get the leader prepared to expect the unexpected, to manage differently the team, to be a manager as a coach, is also linked with what we see of company are reassessing or revisiting the strategic framework, revisiting the leadership framework. This means also the coaching is also the other part of the assessment. What do I want to assess? How do I want to assess? And how a successful leader looks like in my company in the next coming years. I mean, having this part of having some guidance also on this part of the business, connecting the coaching somewhere with the assessment, and what are the type of behavior that they want to see to be successful on the next coming years.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that. And it's the focus on the values and the behaviors that are recognized and rewarded in the business, because that's what we're building for the business of the future. So from a Q&A point of view, we have a question in about sharing statistics. So absolutely, we can share some statistics. I'll add another one. I talked about the Adecco poll and people thinking it's crucial for their leaders to have an empathetic style. Another really interesting statistic from that poll was 50% of leaders believe that they're well equipped to lead their organizations in the future. So that's 50% who don't believe they're well equipped to lead their organizations into the future. So that's a really interesting statistic. Any more stats to add, Marc?
Well, in terms of, there was a question on KPIs, do you mean on the measuring?
So just on general, yes, measuring and the statistics we have on coaching.
Yes, well, there's always a bit of a challenge because with the main things is about behaviors. It's true that coaching is a lot about behaviors. So the direct impact on business is not always that direct. So we tend to always try and find measures that can be really smart measures to make sure that in each program we validate a measure that can be really, really, taken all along the process, just to make sure that we do have some factual measures for that. Yes.
Yeah, perfect. I see an interesting question has come in. How do you see a structured coaching program beyond exec leadership working with a formal mentoring program? I can answer, or Marc, any thoughts?
How do you see a structured coaching program beyond working with a formal? Well, that could be, why not? I mean, I don't see any problems with that. I think a lot of companies have already mentoring programs that help in integrating and evolving inside the company. Coaching is not mentoring, that's for sure. So it's a total safe, confidential space, which might be different than mentoring done by a colleague or a superior, well, anybody else in the company. But I think it can totally be coherent and complementary. So I see it as totally able to, coexist at the same time and bring different things, which for me would be positive. Yes.
I would agree. And actually, in addition to that, I see coaching work well alongside mentoring, alongside sponsorship. So, for example, we do a lot of women in leadership programs. As part of those programs, people have a sponsor and they also have a coach. And internally in many organizations, as well as working with a coach, people are working with a mentor. And I think I'm very clear, coaching is a thinking partnership and mentoring is a knowledge partnership. So an executive will get something different from both of those.
So we have a question on how can organizations decide on the type of coaching that is most effective for them? I'm not quite sure what we're talking about when we talk about type of coaching. What is sure is that what we tend to be doing is a lot of individual executive coaching, but we also have team coaching, which is quite powerful in integrating teams that work together in terms of effectiveness of interactions and decision making, etc. This is really powerful. And we are also working more and more on peer-to-peer coaching or group coaching, which allow to really embed the learnings, for example, that are related to a leadership program or related to action plans or related to implementations that can, I think that all of these are complementary, and all along a process on a transformation program or a coaching program, we can be adapting this to make sure we actually, address challenges or work on objectives that we have for the programs. So type of coaching, maybe there's something else there, but for me, that's what I would see. But do you see anything else? Maybe Pauline?
I would add to that, as you've said, it's about focusing on what we want to achieve. So as opposed to the type of coaching we want to use. So focus on the, where we're going to get to rather than what way we're going to use to get there. Agile coaching, I know, is wonderful, truly effective. It's very different to exec coaching. So, they can coexist. They are different types of approaches. Another question, if you're developing internal coaches to coach other colleagues, what guidelines and support is given to the coaches and the wider organization?
Well, on that aspect, what we do have a program to actually train and certify internal coaches, and where we accompany internal coaches in their evolution and their work, or we help them out in terms of supervising their work, etc. So we do tend to also help them out in creating a context where they can really be effective, because internal coaches might sometimes be a bit of a, given it's not that easy. I mean, we really definitely in the coaching culture, if you wanted to make it be effective, make sure that we respect all the rules of coaching in terms of confidentiality, in terms of, so we do work a lot on that to make sure that internal coaches are aware and can actually guarantee that they will be able to have the context of effective coaching.
Absolutely. And I think every organization is different and every context is different, and we would work within that context. Another thing I would add, Marc, is that it's not just a one training. So for example, I'm not saying LHH would be involved the whole way through, but using coaching as a skill and working as an internal coach is a continual journey. So like we and all of the coaches we work with, we continually develop. We learn new stuff. There's always new things happening in the market. So I think within organizations, it's important to provide the support for internal coaches, both to continually develop and also to have some kind of supervision support for any questions or concerns that arise.
Okay, I'm trying to read other questions that there are here. So there is a long one, coaching culture is not difficult, which would mean to help team members develop.
We have one, Pauline, on what is a true coaching culture? The question number 4, Pauline.
Yeah, absolutely. So a true coaching culture and how you would spot it. So some of the things, I mentioned, it is an environment that has a lot of psychological safety. So people are comfortable to bring their whole selves. People are comfortable to make mistakes and learn from them. And people are comfortable to feed forward and, support others to be even better. That's how I would describe true coaching culture.
A safe environment.
Yeah.
And true values that are shared.
Yeah, absolutely.
To what extent do you think a hybrid work model will impact coaching? When some coaching takes place in person and some virtually, how will coaching skills need to adapt? Well, I don't know if you want to answer that, but for me, individual coaching is as effective virtually and face-to-face. So that shouldn't be a change. It might be a bit different for team coaching, which virtually it works, but maybe face-to-face can be more impacting, I think. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Pauline.
I think it's a personal preference. I know that at the start of the pandemic, when everything went virtual, we definitely saw a pause in the coaching sessions that were taking place. And, you know, a lot of execs were waiting for things to get back to face-to-face. But actually, we've all progressed and learned, and we're much more comfortable virtually. So I feel that, you know, that the coaching world has progressed to that as well. Some people feel that it can be, you know, as intimate, if not more intimate, when there's a screen there, and other people would much rather the face-to-face. So I really think it's a personal preference.
There is a question about the measuring the financial and business impact. Do you want to say something about that, Pauline?
Absolutely. And this is a topic I love. I could talk for hours about this one.
I know.
So I think, you know, when we talk about impact and ROI of coaching, you know, I encourage people to think about different levels of measuring the difference coaching has made. Obviously, the first one is feedback. You know, what is the feedback from the line manager and the coachee following the coaching? I'd encourage every organization to also do that 6 months and a year later to see the sustained impact of that coaching. The next thing is the impact. So those impact figures I shared, how they are measured is through self-assessment, line manager assessment, and also 360 feedback. And we take that at the beginning and at the end of a coaching program to truly measure the impact of the coaching. The third one is the financial impact, which again, amazing and, you know, so good to set up to measure. At LHH, we talk about the 3 Ps, people, productivity, and profitability. And so internally in an organization, I think it's really important to measure at the beginning of a coaching assignment. And things that I would encourage you to consider is engagement, retention, feedback, profitability of a business unit. So measuring that at the beginning and at the end, and then thinking about how much of an impact the coaching has had, because obviously we have many things going on in our world. So it could also be some development or change in personal circumstance. But if we can get a percentage that the impact is down to the coaching, then you have a wonderful financial ROI KPI. So Marc, how do you recommend a company approaches building internal coaching capability?
Well, I think first, I think there is the decision and making sure that there is some commitment on that, and that you know, there is the values of coaching are recognized, you know, in terms of the leadership team, and from that it's just, you know, starting small, maybe, you know, creating a first team and slowly building that team of internal coaches. So because this is what's going to gain value and demonstrate the results. So I think the idea is just, you know, start small, but go for it and try to, you know, develop your own coaches, your own culture around that. What would be your idea, Pauline?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And another question I regularly get is, how do we identify the coaches, you know, the internal coaches that we would develop? The reality is, most internal coaches in organization are what I would call job plus. So you have a day job and a coaching job. And my recommendation is always see who really wants to be an internal coach. So do some kind of self-nomination. Look at skills like, you know, self-awareness, engagement, etc. And then in addition to internal coaches, I would always recommend people consider champions. So people who can really champion this initiative in an organization, because that will make such a difference. It is a full change program. And if you have champions, I think makes such a significant difference.
Great point, yeah.
Yes, on the question number 8, you know, how we get leaders on board and believe in coaching. In each company, each organization, we have business leaders, they have an appetite and openness to coaching. And what we see that is working best is really working closely with this business leader and to start with this specific department or business unit and to to share the quick wins, to share the success, not only from the coaching team and so from the HR team, but also from the business leader, and also for the people taking advantage and benefits of the program and the coaching that has been defined jointly with the organization, with a partner like LHH and with the businesses. This one is what we see that is working very, very well, and is like spreading out the good news and the positive behavior across the company.
Yeah. And Christophe, to what extent do you have to convince people of the merits of coaching?
I don't have to convince on the merit of coaching. It's more to co-design with the team of the client team. And you have different, I take the example of the Lego strategy, where to play, individual coaching, peer coaching, team coaching, more individual coaching, and to put this one combine not only to tick the box, but on the specific business and personal context. And sometimes can be a specific cohort with a specific type of leader population that will be clear in terms of learning objective or business objective. Sometimes it's part of an overall talent development initiative where coaching will be part of it. And we see also different type of topics that will be discussed more in US compared to Europe, compared to Asia. In Asia, you have China, that are also some specificity, like in Japan. It's not to convince, is how to co-design the best pathway for the different type of leader, business units that are operating in different type of leadership and business context.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question here. You mentioned different types of coaching, agile, etc. Can you elaborate on what those different types look like? Do you understand?
I will start, absolutely. We talk about exec coaching a lot, and for me that's bespoke, tailored to an individual. We understand the objectives, the success measures, we recommend coaches. Other more prescriptive coaching options that we offer are parental coaching, presentation skills coaching, onboarding or transition, which is the first 90 days. We also do some return to work, which is for people who've been out on a significant career break. Agile coaching really doesn't tend to fall into the remit of what we do, or Marc or Christophe can argue if they see it more. For me, agile coaching is related to the project methodology, and it's more related to a way of working and working with teams to be more agile. In addition to the ones I said, we do a lot on team and group coaching. And Marc, I think you do a lot of team and group. So anything to add to that?
Yes, well, the thing is the same, actually. Coaching is about working with a client. So when it's individual coaching, the client is the coachee, an individual. And when you do team coaching, the client is the team. So what's interesting here is that we are all serving a team. So anything that happens in the team has to be working the interactions behind that. So there are specific techniques on how to work on communication, interaction, emotional state of a team to make it more effective. It's a bit different, but it's still coaching because it's a safe space where everything can happen and where we have possibilities of everything arising, and we can work on our own effectiveness to be able to build high-performing teams. So that's the only difference.
Yeah.
Group coaching is a bit different because group coaching is more about you really facilitating in a safe space again, best practice sharing or things around specific challenges we want to work on or anything in the cross-functional aspects we want to improve. It's a bit different depending on the topic.
Yeah, absolutely. The other question that we touched on earlier about coaching culture, and I see a question, for sustainability, coaching leadership style is one of the dimensions to generate a positive climate within the team. It could not be the unique leadership style used by the leader. Absolutely. coaching is a style to use in a leader's toolkit. In our coach skills training, we talk about all the different styles and what is needed in each situation. So coaching, mentoring, directing, sponsoring, they are all different styles that a leader needs to utilize. And, you know, we enable leaders to know what to use in that situation for the executive they're supporting.
Yes, we don't take away the personality of the leader. The leader continues to be the leader and their ability with his or her abilities. The only thing is that the leader coach can be more aware about what's happening and what is the best solution to go forward to actually mobilize his team, his or her team, or their team members. So that's the idea. So it's a different set of tools that they can be using, which are more effective sometimes. Okay.
There's a question, Pauline, on what does this coaching looks like in everyday practice?
And I wondered, is that question related to Agile? Is it related to other styles of coaching?
Or is it the coaching culture? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that until I know what this coaching question relates to.
Yeah, it's not really that clear actually. What does this coaching look like in everyday practice?
So maybe one example that we see from client Pauline and Marc, and maybe is answering partly, maybe not completely. We see client after any type of meeting, that the meeting will take half an hour. The meeting is 25 minutes and having 5 minutes for feedback. What has been moving well, what I need to improve for next time, what I need to consider, what I need to keep in mind. And this one can be done with a relatively large group, a very small group. It is something that can be, you know, part of the DNA and embedded on the way a company or a group is working and collaborating.
Great point, Christophe, because it's about looking at the system and how we're working in the interactions and in groups, which is quite interesting because we gain awareness and we gain efficiency. We're much more effective in the way we work. Yes, that's exactly it.
I think that is all of the questions. Does anyone want to share a last question before we go?
Okay.
No. Any other questions, Graham or Honesty? No.
Peer coaching. Yes, that's a good question. Well, I think peer coaching can be quite effective once you have begun creating that coaching culture. I think it can be really good to have people in an organization be able to share about challenges, about ways of going forward, about specific situations where they might be struggling. And because actually this is about gaining from perspectives of other people. And sometimes we see, for example, styles. We were talking about styles of leaders. And we can be very good leaders with very different styles. And it's always interesting to see the guy who's actually the leader who's actually having an opposite side from where I am. So two people with opposite styles can really, really feed themselves in terms of practices or perspectives or ways forward. So it can be really, really effective if you can create that. Yes.
And we see Marc on the program that I'm supporting also with a major pharma group that the peer coaching need to be facilitated by an expert, a consultant, to avoid having someone based on the hierarchy or leadership style taking over the discussion and imposing a point of view. Having this facilitation type of work is critical to facilitate specifically the peer coaching activities.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another question I saw going back to coaching culture was whether organizations with a coaching culture have internal coaches or managers who coach? And I would say they have both. And they also use external coaches. And then that links to Joanna just asked, is it better for an organization to use external coaches or internal ones? And I would say both have merit. Neither is better than the other. It depends on the need and the individuals. Like the way mentoring and coaching works wonderfully together, external and internal coaches working in an organization also work wonderfully together.
Exactly. They have advantages and disadvantages, both of them. Which,
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for your time. It has been lovely. A question came in about stats of companies with a coaching culture v ones that do not. Absolutely. We quoted one earlier. Organizations with strong coaching culture, 54% are high performing. Organizations without a strong coaching culture, only 29% are high performing. So that's a phenomenal statistic. But thank you for your time. Thank you, Marc and
thank
Christophe.
You all. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Christophe.
Honestly,
thank you, Marc. Thank you, everyone attending the webinar.
Today's careers look very little like the linear careers of the past. Our lives and our careers are unique journeys of personal and professional growth. Along the way, we experience many moments of change and transition, challenge, and success. Every person has their own unique story, and LHH is there for every key career moment. To find the perfect match between people and jobs, we help reveal who has the right skills and the right fit, and we deliver insights that help people uncover who they are and the keys to their success. When they take on new challenges or step into leadership roles, we help people reach their true potential, accelerate their team's success, and elevate the company's performance. When new technologies or big changes in the world create new career paths, we help people renew their skills, reinvent themselves, and move into exciting new jobs within their current companies. And when change in the business means people need to continue their journey in a different company, we help them refresh their careers and discover new opportunities. Life is all about transitions and navigating key career moments with skill. LHH is here for every career journey to deliver on every opportunity, every step of the way. Visit LHH.com to learn more.